Okay, here it is, pod number 40, 4Bs. Myself, Mr. All-In, Dr. Evil 10%, so never look, and she's here, but she's never here, right? Mrs. No Show. She's a victim. It's maybe taken down in the latest pandemic that has been the price of Bitcoin this week, eh? It's crazy, crazy. We don't really like to talk about price, but it's the elephant in the room right now.
It's right there. Yeah. Ever since I've had this block clock, the price has only gone one way.
We should throw it out the window or get two of them, get it to double down. And when we can all buy even more, we can start selling our kids, selling kidneys, buying more Bitcoin, and then you throw them both out the window. I mean, it goes up.
It's been a bit of a brutal week, but then our first two stories of the week, I think are heavily related to it because the world's just coming for us. And I must admit, like with Bitcoin, I think we started going down first, but now everything is down, right? We were talking about it just before we pressed record, but the entire market this last week or so is taking a battering.
Yeah.
Suddenly everyone is starting to go, this is the bubble of all bubbles. Like the money printing has got out of control. It's all flowed into stocks. A lot of it's in meme stocks and in crypto. And I think there's a lot of smart money that has just gone, fuck off, I'm scared, and they're just exiting to cash.
Well, they call it overheating the economy, don't they? So there's been so much money pumped in that they got two options. They either print more money, which then has a very high likelihood of going to hyperinflation because, well, it's going to be meaningless, like what's £100, or you ramp up in interest rates, which pushes you firmly into a recession, and because of the amount which they've printed, it'll be a Great Depression.
Yeah. And I think it's all tied into the fact that the Fed in America seem to have finally realized and listened to the inflation talk and gone, we are going to slow down spending and we're going to slow down the money printer. So I think that's suddenly gone. The smart people have gone, oh shit, that means a lot of this stimulus money just goes straight into people that aren't doing very much. It's spare cash. They're just YOLOing it into random stocks. And if they don't have that money, it's not going to pump the price anymore. Shit, it's time to take some profit. And then before you know it, that just starts to snowball. And yeah, stocks like Amazon, that are normally the safest stocks in the entire market, down 10% in one day. That's not Bitcoin. That's Amazon. Amazon does not go down by 10% in a day. It's worth trillions. So when that goes down 10%, that is hundreds of millions just evaporating in the matter of minutes, and it's just unheard of. So obviously there's a load of people, because this is the thing, this is the problem with Bitcoin going more mainstream and getting bigger investors in. And big investors have an allocation of Bitcoin, whether it's 1%, 5%, 10%, 50%, and they click into, oh, this is the bubble is popping, like as an economy. They just trim everything and they go, I need an allocation of cash. So my allocation of cash might be 1%. I need to up it to 20. So they just go to all their stocks, all their investments, and they just trim them all and convert to cash. So obviously a lot of them now have Bitcoin. So unfortunately, they don't realize Bitcoin is the hedge against inflation, and they're trimming that as well. So we're just getting punished. But the good old hodlers, we're still here. That's why we're still at 36K. Everyone's laughing at us. But with 36K, about just over a year ago, that said 3.6K. So we're doing all right.
Yeah, that's the one. I was going to say actually as well, 10% for Amazon is huge. Like a 2 to 3% in the S&P 500 is huge. Whereas for us hardened bulls, 10% is like nothing really. A little decrease of 10%. It's like, yeah.
That's every day. Like,
yeah.
Unless it starts with a 2, I'm not even really that interested.
Exactly.
In Bitcoin land, yeah. Because it's just 10%. Yeah, like when we were at 50K, we're going from 50K to 55, 50K, 55. That's 10% like every day.
Yeah,
it's just normal.
We just need a couple more countries to bring us back up. So you kind of think this bottom, you got to go, well, what is it? It's mass amount of hodlers, which is the baseline for everything. But then you got Sailor with his shitloads of Bitcoin, the Bitcoin Lord. Then you've got El Salvador adopting it as a joint currency with a dollar, which I'm guessing is to gradually move to a single currency of Bitcoin. But if you then bring, another thing which for your base, like say you bring in Turkey, Argentina, or Brazil, or even all three, then it brings that right up, doesn't it? So the base will rise, because you think when it was down to 3K a couple of years ago, you didn't have Sailor, you didn't have Elon, you didn't have El Salvador. You basically had a bunch of nerds hodling their magical internet money.
Yeah, well, we didn't have like you two. Like so
well,
many.
You did. You had my £500, which I invested in 2017.
Yeah, but now we've got a decent chunk of you guys' money, and like you're just sitting there going, "All right, we're down 50% from all-time highs. So not fucking selling. Just going to try and mine some more fiat and buy at these cheap prices." It's just that we just know it's temporary pain. It still hurts, but it's temporary.
My wife asked me, "So, what's the price of Bitcoin?" I don't know.
I think it's like 50 odd, maybe.
Yeah, I kind of just went, don't know, but yeah, I knew.
Like I literally checked 30 seconds ago, hoping it doubled, but it hasn't still.
Yeah, I forgot my name at the opening of the show tonight because I have been looking. Regular looks to just think, oh, maybe. No, I just need to go back to not even giving a damn about it. But I get messages off everybody.
I bought yesterday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, good.
Oh, I buy every Monday.
Yeah, well, weirdly, that means today? We're it's only 4, it says on here. I thought we were up more. Well, I think for the day we're up about 8% today, so you might be up 8%. So that's not a bad little DCA.
Yeah, because I've bought some initial chunks, but then it is DCA. It's part of my saving strategy is buy Bitcoin, because I can see a significant rise. And I think I think there's got to be something bubbling underneath. We've seen Strike move to Argentina. We've seen Chad Bukele go on talk to Erdogan in Turkey. And we've seen, the tax returns in Bitcoin in Brazil. So I just think, something's really going to come to the surface this year. It's going to be a big one. It's not going to be a winter like you've seen previously. I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, hopefully. Although I must admit, almost like the mark of the end of the bottom is once everybody agrees we're definitely in a bear market now. So the fact that you're still bullish, unfortunately, means you're almost definitely wrong. and we're going to go lower. So I'm just saying, once you finally go, you know what? I think we're down for 3 years. Yeah. That's when we pump. That's when we go to all-time highs. Once you're just like DCA'd out and you're literally you're hovering over your buy on Monday, you're like, I ain't buying. Every fucking week I buy at a lower price. This sucks. And you skip a couple of weeks. That's when we fly up and you miss like a 3x on the way up. You're like, oh fuck. And then you suddenly switch DCA back on. That tends to be where this goes, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope this is the bottom.
Yeah, that's the one where you think, oh my God, I'm throwing more good money after bad.
I know. I hope the price halves.
Good.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we well could, because a lot of people are going, is 36K roughly the new 6K? Because we stayed at 6K for quite a while. We dipped down to 3 for literally about an hour, and then went back to 6, and then right on to 69. So,
I'll be pulling out my credit card and everything if it went down to 18.
Yeah, well, that's why a lot of people are assuming that is going to happen. And the only way to catch it is to put your buy orders in now at like 18K now, because it's going to wick down and wick back. So you'll just wake up and it's happened,
Yeah.
But you can put in your bids now. So maybe if one of your DCA weeks, just put it in at a silly price and just leave it there. Kind of just forget about it. Have a couple of £100 worth of bids just at half where it is. And if one day you wake up and it's like wicked down and wicked up, you're like, oh, wow, got the order filled. Nice. Go on with your day.
Interestingly enough, stats on Coinbase show that trading activity is a 78% buy, 22% sell and typical hold time is 88 days, which is actually up from prior weeks when I think it's
that's
around
just
about
Bitcoin.
70. Yeah, just Bitcoin.
That's
Paper
crazy.
hands.
How the hell is the price going down when 78% of people are buying?
I know.
But I'm sure the stats were the other way around, and we were going up. There's more sellers than buyers, and the price was up last time you read that, I'm sure.
So that percentage was based over the last 24 hours through trading.
All right, well, we have pumped the last hour, or the last 24 hours. Yeah, we've gone up 8%, haven't we? So that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, so you're right. Yeah, you would. I don't know. I don't know who would sell. Like, dude, listen to the script. Like, hold. Don't sell. It's just silly.
It's just Bitcoin. Bitcoin, it tested your conviction. Like, do you actually understand it, or are you just in for the gains? If you're in for the gains, they're the people selling right now. They were sold a dream of $1 million of Bitcoin, and it hasn't happened instantly. So they've sold it and they've gone into cash, and they'll just YOLO into some random stock, hoping for the same. The hodlers are going, no, this is
loss as well.
Yep, that's the sad thing. A lot of people will sell for a loss.
Just to get out. That's just like, well, hold.
Yeah, have you seen? We can skip, I think, to the Snowden tweet if you want to.
Yeah, let's do it.
And number one, like having Ed Snowden again talk about Bitcoin is pretty cool. He's done a few tweets recently about Bitcoin isn't just for speculation. He actually used it to buy servers. He used it when he was exposing like the US government for spying on all its people and the world's people. He used Bitcoin to buy equipment that then he used to export the information he had onto, because he needed to buy it anonymously. Couldn't obviously use his credit card because then he would be tracked straight away, have all the information shut down. So he's used it legitimately. But yeah, he's posted a tweet out, which is bang on what we're talking about, which is price. And he's got Noor Wabini, who's the economist that is doom and gloom, Mr. Bear Market on everything. But he was flexing back in 2019, saying Bitcoin's down 14% in a day. It's below 9.5K. And then goes on just to go, it's going to zero, you all morons. And then again, on January 22nd, so a couple of days ago, he's now saying Bitcoin's down 50% to 36K. And you're all suckers and morons again. Completely forgetting that his last email or last tweet about this was saying it's below 9.5. Now it's at 36. And you're all morons. What?
Yeah, it was pretty much the same thing, slight different wording. Yeah. So it did make me laugh, and it's the fact that Edward Snowden just called him out on it.
It's funny.
Yeah, everyone loves to flex on Bitcoin when it's down, and totally forgets the fact that like the last time they tweeted about it and they think they're right, the price was like 3 or 4 times lower. And you just go, what are you on about? Like you're so wrong. You should be just apologizing and going, sorry, Bitcoin, you were right. And instead they continue to ignore the 300% pumps. And the second it regresses 20%, they come out and start gloating, saying, I told you so.
It's like my Bitcoin feed at the moment. It's just full of Peter Schiff gloating. And I'm just like, Jesus, you're quiet when it's going up.
He could have been in Bitcoin at $100, and we've dumped 50%, and we're at 36,000, and he's gloating. Like he's already a billionaire. He could be one of the richest guys on the planet if he'd just put like 100 million or something into Bitcoin at $100.
He
would
billionaire?
Be really rich.
Don't realize he's that rich.
Yeah, he's a billionaire. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I knew obviously he was very well off, but I didn't know billions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think billions. I think he might have just creeped over the 1 billion, but he's up there. He's a rich guy. But then, if we go on to some negative news, because I think probably the 2 biggest stories of this week are negative, and I think one of the ones that probably is responsible for the last dip in the price, probably our first story, which is that Russia proposes a ban on use and mining of cryptocurrencies. So essentially, this largely came from the central bank in Russia. So it's not the government, but obviously we know
but it is
governments and banks are the same.
I was going to say it's part of the government. It's not like it's an HSBC. It is, the Bank of Russia. So I think there is a little bit of risk around it, but it's hard to tell because they're talking about mining. So they did say it's not going to be illegal to hold it, and but I don't think you can buy things with it, which is what they talked about, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're not allowed to trade with it.
But also, I guess the potential threat of Russia invading Ukraine, coupled with this, because the people in the Ukraine will, essentially they'll need Bitcoin to move their wealth as well.
So the article on Reuters, which is obviously government owned and funded, it was, as governments worry that privately operating highly volatile digital currencies could undermine their control of financial and monetary systems. So there's your actual reason, which isn't actually said a lot. And so I was like, fair enough, they actually said it, because that's actually the reason why they don't want Bitcoin. But then later on, the Bank of Russia said crypto mining created problems for energy consumption. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency are mined by powerful computers that compete against others, hooked to a global network to solve complex mathematical puzzles. The process guzzles electricity, is often powered by fossil fuels. So that's, what the Bank of Russia versus what Reuters said. And it's actually funny that Reuters have actually said a little bit of the truth.
Yeah. Normally they just use the classic FUD, don't they? Which is, climate change, money laundering, funding terrorism, all that nonsense. But actually saying, but Bitcoin might undermine the national currency. Yep, spot on. Which again, it's always worrying when they get it right, because it's like, oh no, now they're actually treating us like a proper adversary. They're not just pursuing and just banning it for the sake of it.
But you can't have that out to normal people, because you can't say, we're scared of Bitcoin because it will overtake our currency. People will be like, why? Well, I hope some people would.
Yeah,
I actually wouldn't put most just to go over their head, since they are pretty much NPCs.
Yes, that is the problem, because I've heard plenty of people justify money printing and say why it's so beneficial.
It stimulates the economy.
Yeah, and it keeps you out of recession, keeps people in jobs, stops people dying, all these types of things. So you can say that, but then you go, but why was that about to happen? Oh, because we print too much money. So the way out of it, for it not to fail, is to print even more. And eventually you just got to just keep going to the end of the story. What happens? Well, eventually you can't print enough money to stop those things happening. You have hyperinflation and everything bottoms out. But they don't tell you the end of the story, because most countries are not at the end yet. They're just still a couple of steps in.
But it's almost, think of something like you got your money versus your services, and they're perfectly balanced. But if you keep on throwing more sand onto the money, then you have to put it onto the services and vice versa on your scale, so you can never balance. It's literally going from that one to 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 that one, and basically you're pretty much out of control. You can't stop pouring. Whereas if you didn't fuck around with it in the first place, it'd be fine. Yeah. And that's where we are. But I kind of understand that we've got to print money in the current situation, which we are. But if they hadn't started doing it, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if it was read all the way to the bottom, but ultimately, it looks like they're trying to just create their own digital ruble, similar to the electronic. Is it the one as well?
Your microphone's sounding quite strange.
Let me get closer. Is that better?
There you go. Yeah. You're back.
Cool. So they're looking at doing a digital ruble ultimately. So banning cryptocurrency, obviously, and the banning of Bitcoin means that the money can't flow into that, and that they can control the people similar way, in the same way as China as well.
Yeah. They are literally doing a China, aren't they? It's almost like it's a sign of this works. It's like when China and Russia ban you, it means you've got a compelling product. It's why they ban Google, Facebook, Microsoft, everything. Obviously, those things are going to take over. They know every single one of their citizens is going to use this thing. These places are dictatorships, and they want one voice going into them. They want one money going into them. So, and if the second a different voice gets in, or a different money, everyone just scatters like cats, and you can't round them back up again. So before they can figure out how to control it, they do what China does, which is just ban it. Then they figure out what the controls are, and then they unban it, but within a very strict. What is it? China are now releasing kind of government-owned exchanges where you can't send the Bitcoin off, so you can buy it on the exchange, which is government-owned, but technically the government still has your money plus your Bitcoin. So it's just now they're like, oh, now we're okay with Bitcoin, because it's like you can't take ownership of it. So if anything ever goes wrong and our currency goes to zero, well, Bitcoin's probably gone to 15 million at that point. Oh, guess what? We own your Bitcoin. Whoop, in it comes. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining Russia will probably just do the same. They'll probably fire up a load of Russian exchanges, all owned by Putin, and they're like, there you go, you can buy Bitcoin again, but only on these 3 exchanges that I own, and you can't take the Bitcoin off.
I don't know if you guys managed to catch the video that I sent to you by Jake Tran, but essentially your statement just there about herding cats. I guess Russia and Mother Russia, when it was once big union, or Soviet Union, was made up of 11 countries, and then Ukraine basically said, yeah, bye, we're just going to go off by ourselves and not be part of you. And they've always wanted that back, and that's exactly it. They don't want everybody else going off, doing what they could do, and they're just trying to control it with a single voice.
Yeah, I think the CBDCs, so the central bank digital currencies, are possibly one of the biggest problems which are coming.
Yeah.
Like if these come in, it is ultimate control over people. They will control
100%.
every aspect of your life. So no protests. You know, they bring in some shitty law which no one agrees with. They let some rapist who's a politician, or rapist who's, you know, celebrity, who they don't want to be in prison, they let them go. You want to protest, you don't. You have all your money stopped. You won't be able to access your money. Things which you want to stand up to, which should happen in democracy, it won't be possible with central bank digital currencies. So don't believe the hype.
Yeah. It's literally the opposite of what they're pitching, isn't it? They're going, this is a Bitcoin alternative. It's like, no, this is even worse than fiat.
Yeah.
This is fiat you can't put under your mattress. This is fiat that you have to have in a centralized database that is owned by the government. And if at any point they don't like you, they can freeze it. But I just wanted to say around the Bitcoin hash rate for mining, it has been really attacked this last year. So we've had China ban it a couple of months ago. That was around 50% of the hash rate. Bang, gone. That we then had last week, I think, or the week before, was Kazakhstan. They were about
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they were about 18%.
Yeah.
Bang, gone. Now Russia are 11%.
Well, Kazakhstan's back, isn't it? It was just the fact that they turned off the internet and inadvertently ruined the hash rate.
Yeah. But again, and then you got Russia now banned, and it's 11.2% of the mining hash rate. So when you add like these things up, that's nearly 100%. Like we're getting close to like 80% or so. And at the moment, the hash rate for Bitcoin is at an all-time high. So it just means that what's happening around the globe is there's a load of cheap energy in China, in Kazakhstan, and in Russia. But the second they fuck about and go, we're banning it, a load of people in the next tier countries that are paying a little bit more for their energy that weren't profitable before, once these guys go offline, they plug theirs in, and now they're profitable. So there's a shit ton of miners all sat around the world just unplugged. But the second someone goes offline, they plug in and they start making money.
But there's also the threat, or rather promise, of mining within El Salvador, thanks to Chad Bukele.
Exactly. That's an example of a couple of miners coming online.
And I think it leads kind of like with that point into one of the next stories around Intel releasing a specific chipset for Bitcoin mining. So at the moment, my understanding of miner is it's very energy intensive, whereas this would bring the power needed or required down. So people who've got this chip, it'd actually be cheaper for them to mine initially. But the problem is if you get a lot of these miners, then obviously you're drawing more energy in order to mine. But the people who would bring these in would have an advantage. And I think it's a really, really good story, because I think it shows the technological changes and the fact that companies like Intel are looking into tech which could help Bitcoin. So they know the future's here. They know there's money.
Yeah, we need more manufacturers. At the moment, there's pretty much 2 manufacturers of Bitcoin miners of any reasonable size. There's probably a dozen in total, but there's 2 really that are probably responsible for 90% of the miners out there. 2 companies make them.
So yeah, ASICs and another.
Well,
miner.
Yeah, well, there's Bitmain, and then there's another one, but I think they're both based in China as well.
But it's the chips which they use are NVIDIA, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, so well, all the chips for everything. There's one company in China and one company in Thailand. That's it, or Taiwan. So there's 2 manufacturers of chips. So that's everything electronical. So that's a massive centralization of. And I think we discussed that on a previous one, but there's a chip in fucking everything. So yeah, we're completely reliant on these 2 companies. If they just go, we're 10xing the price of chips, the entire world is held to ransom. Like, we just have to pay it because there's a chip in every single like smart device that you can think of. But yeah, for Bitcoin miners, that obviously are also reliant on those 2 manufacturers for the chips, but then putting the actual ASIC together, which an ASIC is just an acronym that says it's a very specific device designed to do one thing. And in this case, this machine, the one thing it's designed to do is mine Bitcoin. So yeah, Bitmain's one of them, and I've forgotten the other one. There's another company, but yeah. So if someone like Intel, obviously we've got Square doing it. I'm much more excited about Square doing it, and with Jack Dorsey. But yeah, if Intel do it, who knows? I'd imagine that they do mention blockchain numerous times down here, so it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to optimize it for mining shit coins. But a lot of them are going proof of stake anyway, so it doesn't even need mining. You just need to have.
You just hold a stack.
Yeah, you just load whoever owns the most coins.
I saw some.
Gets the most say.
I'm trying to remember what it was on. Something on Twitter. I saw a brief video and it was someone going on about. We got to move to proof of stake, and I was just like, that just creates fear. You know, if we get proof of stake, when you get people rounding up the coins and they go, I vote to do this, and therefore Bitcoin is now centralized because they're making the vast majority of the votes, and they can change it into whatever they want.
Talking of devices, I've just put in the chat, which we can put in the show notes. This device here, the TRDR Pocket, was originally created by Soldier Boy, and it was then bought by Square for around about more than 140 million. Their first offer was 100 million, and then they came back with 140, and he said, I can't tell you the final figure. But it's interesting that this device, you can go on things like Twitter, you can watch Netflix on it, but you can also play games on it. And so they have experience of obviously making a device or owning a device of some sort, which then appeals to the masses as well. So I'm really, really excited to watch this space to see what Square bring out in terms of their hardware wallet device.
So what on earth is this which you sent in? It looks like a Game Boy.
Yeah, it's like a remnant of a Game Boy, but yeah, you can surf the internet on it.
It looks like it comes with, you have to have a SIM card or something with it.
Yeah, it's also a phone as well.
I'm guessing you can just run off your wireless. So
yeah, run off your wireless, or essentially it's also a phone, it's also a mobile gaming device, all at the same time, but potentially could triple up as a hardware wallet, perhaps.
Yeah, that's where it starts getting exciting. Because as it is, I look at it and go.
But then it's connected to the internet, so it's always a risk.
Well, it depends, right? Because provided it's the online bit isn't connected to the hardware wallet bit, because essentially all you would really have, right? It's like sellotaping a ledger to the bottom of your phone, and instead of having to plug it in, it's just all in the software, and 99.9% of the time it doesn't interact with the ledger, but 0.1% of the time it goes, oh, you want to talk to it, okay, fine, just click this button. And so you're basically merging the two, but what you obviously need to prove you've done that, because if anyone thinks no, it's more integrated and it's hackable, then obviously it's completely broken. I like the fact there's a physical wire, and when I plug that wire out and it goes away, I know no one can hack that thing. It's very reassuring. But someone needs to do it, right? We've always talked about it. Like, someone's going to do it. Someone's going to get a ledger in some shape or form, plug it into a phone-like device and have it secure. And once they do it, it's just like anything. It's just going to take time, right? Someone needs to put a serious amount of Bitcoin on one of them and have it there for a couple of years, and then we'll trust it. Until then, everyone's going to think, the second I ain't buying the Soldier Boy fucking game edition that also has a ledger in it. Like, that ain't selling it to me. I ain't trusting that shit. No. But after a year with a load of people, other you people using it, all right.
Yeah, it becomes the norm.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that this device will be the device, by the way, but just the fact that they are getting into devices and they've got the legacy and the pedigree to obviously pick it up and then develop it and make it better.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I would not be surprised at all if this acquisition was linked. So, because even just how they put these pieces together, they'll just want to tap into that supply chain and then go, right, if we edit this product, I need to do this, this, and this. Instead of having to build it all out from scratch, you've now got 80% of it done. You just put in the other 20% of the Bitcoin stuff, rebrand it, repackage it, and then fire it out. And so Square, for 140 million, have tapped into a successful manufacturing kind of process. Yeah. And it probably might have cost them 300 million to figure out for themselves.
Exactly.
So they save money.
And for his credit, he's been first on quite a number of things as well. So he's been a Bitcoiner from like back in the day, because he had a friend that was telling him about it. He was the first on MySpace. He was the first artist to get paid from YouTube.
Soldier Boy, he was back in MySpace.
Yeah. That's how he kind of made a load of money. And if you remember ringtones as well, so he's got lots of instances of being first to market with a lot of things. I think he was one of the first to have like the iPhone as well back in the day as well. So pretty smart guy.
Yeah, I had no idea that he kind of had all this. I thought he was some rapper or something. But fair play to him.
But I guess ultimately, they've got that economy of fuel, don't they, with the followers. And if he says something's pretty hot and people want to follow, they do, and they follow with their pounds and dollars.
Yeah. So what do we want to move on to now? We kind of had a detour from the two negative stories. Well, we had one negative story when we went to the chips. Do we want to go back to the US and it's the reason why Bitcoin's going down?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, because I honestly do think this could be massive, right? So
US Congress, are we talking about?
Yeah, it's story number one, number two.
Number two, yeah.
Where they've said they want to talk about Bitcoin and its effect on the environment like this month or early Feb. So I don't think they still haven't given an exact date that's going to randomly do it. They've been asking for people to come talk about it and all that type of stuff. But we've seen Elizabeth Warren numerous times talking to the press, flooding Bitcoin to hell, saying how badly it's affecting the environment, on climate change, all this type of stuff. And this discussion could be a big landmark discussion for Bitcoin, because it could be the US banning it from mining as an outcome. Because if they can successfully get across and basically just lie and say Bitcoin uses loads of energy and it's a threat because climate change and they could be using this meeting as a way of justifying them banning Bitcoin mining in America. And obviously a lot of the mining has moved from other countries to America. And undoubtedly, like having Kazakhstan or China or Russia banning Bitcoin, they're pretty big, but it's almost expected to a certain extent because they're all authoritarian type countries. America is seen as a democracy. Like, in my view, it clearly is still a dictatorship in my view, but it's seen as that. And it is the biggest economy. If they ban it in some shape or form, that could be huge. And it's happening in a couple of weeks. And I think because this meeting is about to happen, that is why a lot of people are getting scared and selling their Bitcoin before this meeting because they're worried about the outcome.
Why is I mean, I don't really follow American politics that closely, but why is Elizabeth Warren all over Bitcoin?
I don't know. I think she's just been designated to go after it.
She's not got better things like go back to throwing rocks at orphans or something?
Well, maybe, but I think literally she's just been told, go get it.
You know, we always say that that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. And this feels like the banning of gold, telling everybody or people get rid of their Bitcoin, as you were saying, because they're in fear. And then all of a sudden, the US will be happy with Bitcoin and they'll be the 100% miners. You know, they'll come out as, yeah, we've got a large play in Bitcoin. And we've got it on the balance sheet. This is years played out. It's not going to be overnight, but it just feels very similar to put the fear into people that it's really bad. And then, lo and behold, a couple of years later, no, it's good, and we're happy with it, and we're the leaders in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We all predicted it, right? So exactly as you said about the gold standard, they're going to come after Bitcoin. They're going to make it illegal to hold. And this is what Saylor is trying to avoid. He's trying to go, no, Bitcoin and the US dollar are complementary. But obviously, we all know they're not. Like, they're clearly competitive and directly competitive. And when one wins, the other loses, undoubtedly. So the more Bitcoin wins, the more the US dollar loses. So, of course, the current US dollar, they run the rules of the game. So, of course, they're going to alter the rules of the game to affect Bitcoin and stop its growth. And what will happen is that Bitcoin will grow in the black market in America and everywhere else in the world. And then they will end up being the country that adopted the Bitcoin standard last and buy it at $14 million of Bitcoin when it only had to go to 15. And they'll lose 98% of their wealth and they won't be the world superpowers anymore. But the problem is, if that scenario is the one that plays out, which is the one Saylor doesn't want to work out, is Bitcoin is going to have to find wealth from a lot of other places because America is where the bulk of the wealth is. So it's going to be, so it all depends. Like, this meeting is going to be big. Like, if they just do it and it's a bit of a softball thing and they just run it out and go, oh, they just bash Bitcoin a little bit and then they just go off on their way and don't really take it seriously still, then I think it's all good. And I think we just keep going up. If they come out of it with some serious concerns and go, like, climate change is issue number one for us. And as we know, right, the COVID stuff is starting to die off. They're starting to lose control of all that. So they're starting to bring in the war in Ukraine and they're starting to bring in climate change. And if they tag Bitcoin into climate change, then they'll just go, look, we're going to be doing cuts and we're all going to have to be taking a hit on something to stop climate change because the oceans are going to be boiling in 10 years time if I follow this model that this dickhead...
It's meant to happen last year, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, well, weirdly, there's obviously that article I think that we did last week where it said in 2013 they predicted with a model that by 2020 every bit of energy in the entire world would be used in Bitcoin because they modeled it. And guess what? The model was wrong, dickhead, because they modeled it from 2008 to 2013 and it went like this. And they went, oh, it's going to keep going like that. No, it plateaus out, dickheads. So all their models are wrong. We know their models are wrong. We've seen that the last 2 years, right? We should all be dead. At least one of us on this podcast should be dead if their models were right. But we're not. And if they're going to use the same models to model Bitcoin and then model it against climate change and use everyone to be scared and bring in new lockdowns, yeah, I'm concerned about that. But obviously, I'm a long-term hodler, so it's just fuck it. Let's just wait it out. But
so
I guess what's scaring a lot of people off.
Does that mean the hash rate obviously goes down, and obviously Bitcoin still pumps out every 10 minutes, but other people get a chance?
Yeah, it's basically you've got reduced odds, like winning the lottery. Like if you bought, I don't know, 1,000 tickets instead of one because they're the same price.
Yeah, all that will happen is like just explained on the previous story, right? Pretty much 80% of the hash power over the last year at some point has been switched off. But Bitcoin hash power is all-time highs.
Yeah.
So there's shit tons of miners that aren't profitable that people have bought and aren't plugged in. So the second a country that is profitable goes offline, they plug theirs in. So if America go offline and ban it, all that's going to happen is countries all around the world are going to plug their miners in, and the hash power go back up. But the problem is the price will undoubtedly go down because there's a lot of big investors that are very focused on the American market. Yeah, the American stock exchange, the US dollar, in their eyes, that is the world economy. So when those guys ban Bitcoin mining, if they have a Bitcoin allocation, I can guarantee they reduce it.
Question then, is the stock market linked to Bitcoin? Is there any correlation?
At the moment, it is correlated, but that's just because people are acting the same way. But weirdly, it's not as correlated. So people were trying to link Bitcoin as a meme stock or a COVID stock. But the stocks that mooned during lockdowns and all that, and with all the stimulus money, they're down 80-90%. But Bitcoin's
apart
down.
From SHIB.
Apart from SHIB, yeah. But Bitcoin's down 50%. So already it's not correlated. And I've listened to some podcasts that I listen to anyway about investing and stuff, and they're not Bitcoiners, and they wonder why Bitcoin isn't down more. Because Bitcoin is still up, like year to year, Bitcoin is still up about 15%, I think.
Yeah, whereas these 16% we're up. Yep.
Yeah, so these meme stocks are now, not only are they down, they're down from a year ago. So they're down from where they started all this bullshit. So they're like properly down.
Apart from SHIB.
Apart from SHIB. Everyone.
From a year ago, SHIB's flying, but then it did have its peak in October.
4B's podcast sponsored by SHIB. Remember to share, like, and subscribe.
I want to share this SHIB money.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's going to be a while until it's totally uncorrelated, right? So when we have the ultimate crash, like, because every time we have these crashes in the stock market in Bitcoin, the Bitcoin price keeps 10xing. So the amount of money from the other markets is shifting. And that money is staying in Bitcoin. Like, it's just hard. It's like hard, sound money, because those people believe in it and they know this asset isn't being fucked with. All the other assets are being fucked with. The stocks that are being printed out of thin air by the CEOs. All the cash is being printed out by thin air by the Federal Reserve and banks all around the world. Bonds are obviously useless because they're all backed by the same bollocks fiat. So Bitcoin is the sound money. So, but as we grow up, it's probably like I've said before, actually, at the froth of the top of the price of Bitcoin, a lot of people that hold that froth at the top, they're either people that don't get Bitcoin or they're traders, people trying to maximize their fiat. So of course, when the price dips or they see something in the market, they just sell. But it hits us, it hits the hodlers, and we ain't selling. Whereas in every other stock, there's no such thing as a hodler in another stock.
No, exactly.
It literally isn't. Like, you don't believe a company.
There's no loyalty. There's no loyalty.
Stocks, they were hodlers.
Yeah, maybe. But I think even
them,
when they really get tested, though, like really, like they don't believe in the stock. Like, other than for the memes, like they did this for a laugh, right? Like, we're not holding it for a laugh.
They just wanted to piss off. They just wanted to piss off the big boys.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just talking about SHIB made me think about Dink Doink, so I had a quick look, and it's still going down. I just don't know how it goes down.
For it to go down, that means that some people must still hold some and be selling it.
Yeah.
Because I found on crypto.com it was saying no data, but I've gone on CoinGecko and it's still just going on a downward trajectory. It's amazing.
Didn't even know there was anything left off it.
It's a funny thing, even when you're at like a fraction of a penny, you can still go down another 90%. It's beautiful.
Oh, I need to get some.
Like I said, what was it? The shit mix.
Yeah.
By one Dink Doink before it pauses trading.
Getting a crypto ape when those hit about a penny. Are they crypto apes? Is that no crypto punk? What's the ape? Is there an ape one as well? Or am I imagining that?
I think they're just called apes.
And then there's the crypto dolphins, which an 8-year-old made, which went for a few ETH each.
Oh, by the way, did you see 4chan? 4chan put out, just as they did with the Pepe frog, they went, let's pretend Pepe's a racist white supremacist symbol. And they just started saying it on loads of threads, going, this is a white supremacist symbol. And quite quickly, the mainstream media picked it up, and all the Pepe frogs then got, oh my God, this is like covert racism. And they massively got offended, and all the Pepe frogs, and they were just 4chan pissing themselves, going, oh my God. We convinced themselves that the Pepe frog is essentially a Nazi symbol, and they're just pissing themselves. They've done the same thing on the apes. They've gone, they've actually gone, wouldn't it be funny because apes that's a racist term for a black person, and they can be traded just as they can slaves. Let's say these apes are racist versions of NFTs, but they're simulating slave trade. And they memed it and went, let's do it. And they went off and started posting it all under loads of ape posts and loads of Twitter threads. And within hours, there was some mainstream article going, are apes racist? And then a massive article justifying why the buying and selling of these apes is some type of symbolism back to the slave trade. And it's like, 4chan, you did it again. You just baited them, hook, line, and sinker. And it's so easy to get them. And like 4chan are just like, what can we do next?
It's like,
I'm just having a search. I was just saying, I'm having a search to see if I can find out who published it because I remember it. Great, absolutely great. I managed that.
What are you saying, Snevler?
Yeah, I was just saying when they try to kill celebrities off, even though they're fully alive, and it's just for the joke, just for the laugh, to see if everybody will buy into it.
It's amazing how much of the internet they are, because once they go, oh, let's just say like Joe Rogan's dead, then they just post it fucking everywhere, and then other people just start parrot speaking it. Before you know it, some mainstream media is published that Joe Rogan died.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did they do this? And they're fucking everywhere, these guys. But yeah, fair play. They're the ultimate trolls of the internet. And I suppose we mentioned NFTs now, haven't we? Should we just stick on NFTs?
Go on then.
You've got one. Obviously, this is like back in my freaking own backyard. This is Liverpool Football Club. And weirdly, they're not issuing NFTs. They've just put out a survey or a questionnaire.
That's right.
To say, what are your feelings? And I hope the people that reply, I haven't got this email. I'm obviously not on this subscription list, but they're just asking, what do you think about NFTs? Should Liverpool release any? But just look like they're going that way.
I think it'd be great. You'd have some artwork which you could preserve forever and be unique.
Well, you buy it, I'm going to copy paste it, and then I've got it as well.
So just so down for the digital flex of your football club? No.
I just think anyone who thinks that NFTs are worth collecting is a fucking idiot.
It's just like, there's so many magical moments for Liverpool, like so many goals, so many like lifting of trophies. There are so many iconic moments, but even if it was issued by Liverpool Football Club, I know the NFTs don't come with any kind of rights to that clip or anything. Like, so if I could buy, say, the Gerard's goal against Olympiacos, or
Gerard stamping on Stephen Naismith in the derby.
Yeah, or like Gerard's header against AC Milan, and just all these like massive iconic moments. If Liverpool literally went, you own that clip now. And every single time someone plays that clip, they owe you money. Now I'm interested. Now this is like, okay, I actually genuinely own the moment. And every single time someone plays it, they got to pay me £1. Now I'm in. You get none of that. Like, because they've already done this on the NBA, in American football. You just buy the clip, you own it. Like, so Liverpool aren't going to sell the clip again. They say they obviously could if they wanted, but they just say they're going to sell it once. I can buy it, but anybody else that clips it from YouTube or Sky, anywhere, can still use the clip, even though I go, oh, I own that goal. No, I don't. I own the copy of it that Liverpool sold on one website.
And it has a digital signature on it.
It's just
which says it's unique.
Total bollocks.
Yeah.
There will never only be one.
Yeah, so it's one of them. Like, if they actually did what Bitcoin has done and made like scarcity to go, only one person can own this goal, only one person can own the video of this person holding the trophy. Now I'm interested, and every single time someone uses it, they got to pay me. Now I'm interested. Now that
I do wonder,
worth millions now.
I do wonder if these things took off, if they try going, oh yeah, this is like the black and white version, this is a heat sensitive version, this is, and just put it through different filters. So I reckon some companies would get very greedy about that, be like, oh yeah, you've got the original, but Darnell's got black and white.
It's different, it's different skins for the same visual. Because I think if there was a physical copy, although it's not because it's digital, like let's think about film reel, and they gave you the film reel and hand it over to you, you hold it, and if you lose it or it becomes damaged, that's it. It's gone for forever. There are no other copies. That's unique. But this isn't what we're talking about. This is, here you go. But we know that we've got it backed up in our servers and we can play it 10 times over.
Here's a copy which we made and we put a little signature on it.
Yeah.
And sold it to you in F. So now it's on the cryptocurrency Flickr.
Yeah. The funniest thing about this article was when they were referencing other football clubs, and there's one of Man City in there where it references them like creating their own shit coin, like Man City coin or whatever, with some random firm. Then seemingly they got like exit scammed and now can't contact the company that created their cryptocurrency. And I'm like, that just sums it up. It's just, this is it. Like, it doesn't matter who they are. Like, they don't know what they're doing. So even like the company that is launching a coin is getting dumped on. Never mind you as the fan, like you're getting dumped on twice.
Whatever happened to the Arsenal coin? That was more about voting, wasn't it?
Yeah, something about having voters' rights or something. I didn't even look into it.
So it's a pretty much pointless. Oh yeah, you get a coin if you sign up. I don't think it's even charged for. Yeah. It just seemed like another step, and it was pointless.
Have a look.
PSG had their own, which you could buy things for, but once again, you're just trading into crypto to buy something from their store, which you can buy for euros instead.
Exactly, and they all like the whole like having a team currency. They're just reward points. Like, that isn't new. Like the more that you,
it's not reward points. It's a gift card.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
it's like
bizarre.
your Tesco points, right? It's like when you go to the supermarket, they give you 1% of your money back in points. You can spend the points in the shop. That's all they're trying to do. It doesn't need to be on a blockchain. You don't need to be able to trade these points. Like, why am I trying to trade them? It's just silly. And then, like I said, and NFTs, like the NFTs for football clubs, if they had any, like if people properly thought about it, and made that you owned the actual thing, and every time that got reused, it could have value. But they're not doing that. It's just a nice, easy cash grab. Even this article even says it's just money on the table. Why doesn't every big club just literally get a load of JPEGs that are famous, a load of small little clips, push them out, partner with someone that knows how to market it, and just make millions? It's just easy money. That's the only reason to do it. It's not changing the world. It's not doing anything. It's just a nice, quick cash grab for clubs.
But NFTs are changing the world.
Are you leading on to our next story?
Yeah, they'll help stop climate change and gender inequality.
The first one I can half get. The next, gender inequality. What the fuck? How are they doing that?
I just read this when there's...
How will it stop climate change?
Yeah.
Because reasons.
Gender equality is like, it'll help female and non-binary and Apache helicopters get their artwork published. But it's just like, women have always been able to get their artwork published. So it kind of seems a little bit pointless. It's just, we've also, we're seeing a big downward trend, and NFTs seem to be dropping more than most. So it's like they've really missed the boat on this one. They should have done it 6 months ago to make the money. It's just like you're playing with pogs.
Yeah.
And like they're like, oh yeah, NFT gives us this technology. And they showed all this art, and it's like a really basically drawn woman. It's like, okay, context, I don't really understand why that's nice. And another one which it went on to was just a set of hills. Like, here's a hill, and they're different colours, and it's just like,
well, they look like breasts, so that's equality.
I think you just simply coming to the end of the NFT line where they're just scraping the barrel for things that they can make into NFTs. Essentially, it was always shit, wasn't it?
It just sounds like you're sexist. It sounds like you're sexist for not buying them. That's what it happened. Like, it fails, it massively fails. WEF turns around and goes, "You're all sexist. The world needs to change."
Like, once the WEF is pitching NFTs, that's the end.
Yeah.
Now literally everybody that could sell a fucking JPEG is that they're all in now. Like, these guys are slow anyway. So now that they're selling JPEGs of who knows what, just women's vaginas probably. Like,
it's some fucking hills.
And it's the most woke kind of virtue signaling thing ever, isn't it? Like, come on, NFTs are like, at least with the Liverpool story, it's a cash grab, plain and simple. The World Economic Forum here is saying they're going to solve climate change and gender equality. Come on. Jesus Christ. You're not going to do that by selling JPEGs.
You don't know that. Just because you're sexist. But it's funny, like, when it fails, it'll be put down to sexism. And if it did succeed, that would be like, oh, look at what they've done. They're changing the world. Like, they've made 16 million off a bunch of people selling them shit, which they don't need. Consumerism is at its finest.
They build a massive gold statue of vagina and go, look how successful we were.
Maybe worth going on to some positive. So a story Sir Neverlook put in about banks offering Bitcoin. Do you want to go on to that one?
Yeah, sure. So 300 banks to offer Bitcoin to clients in the first half of 2022. Now, this will be interesting, certainly if the price continues as is. But I guess ultimately the ability to buy Bitcoin with your bank. Now, that to me, and what made me come across this and click it and read into it a little bit more, is it just feels alien, because the two are like, it's like the Joker and Batman working together. It doesn't happen, right? But essentially, that's what I think they're looking for. And obviously to get some money and keep custom, because we know that people are taking their hard-earned dollars and pounds and putting it into crypto, and certainly not saving it in the bank.
Yeah, they mentioned that was it Stonebridge is a company working with the different banks, so they must be making a fucking killing on this, because this all, I think we talked about this earlier. Like, it's not the ideal way to take currency, crypto, putting trust in the bank, but I suppose it is a step in this kind of in this evolution of how cryptocurrency, or rather Bitcoin, be seen.
I think they need to, in a way, really, as well, because remember, banks, one of the things that they always fight over is customers. You build a bank, the thing that you need is customers. And so customers, and then those customers to deposit money with you for you to be able to do stuff with that. Could they then leverage the Bitcoin that they buy on behalf of the customer to do something else with it? And I'm sure they're probably thinking in the background as to what that may be. And do they hold custody of that Bitcoin in the event that somebody dies? And, is that another way for the bank to potentially get rich? Who knows? There's also a world as well where eventually we will be able to loan against your Bitcoin for things like a deposit for a house. So, again, this is another way for the banks to diversify how they keep control, because that's essentially what they've been doing for hundreds of years.
Yeah, they go with that.
Yeah.
It does seem like quite a big one, is it? Because 300 banks in one go.
Yeah.
It doesn't really say like who the provider is. Like, someone's obviously doing it underneath, doesn't it? Like, there's got to be.
It was Stonebridge, so those are the company who's bringing it in.
Are they a massive company behind loads of banks? Are they?
It seems like some kind of investment platform. I don't know anything about them, but that's who was said in the article. But the 300 banks, it could literally be what they called in the UK, like where there's single banks in a single location. I mean, I think they've got local banks in the US as well.
You could just say 300 community banks, unless it's like a JP Morgan. The thing is, JP Morgan already does Bitcoin.
Yeah, these will be, like local banks, or maybe a state one in the US or something, or maybe a smaller country like Luxembourg. Well, actually, Luxembourg's got all sorts, so not them. That's a really bad example.
Or even like credit unions, so they're not necessarily banks. Yes. Yeah.
This is one. I mean, like, every week we hear Bitcoin being integrated into the back end of more and more stuff. We know there's loads of fiat that want to get into Bitcoin, but they just can't get in because they don't want to sign up for something Bitcoin specific. They want Bitcoin to come to them. And this would be an example of there's 300 companies here, on the looks of it, that people have their money in. At the moment, they can't convert it to Bitcoin within that ecosystem. And now suddenly there's going to be a Bitcoin tab, and they can click on Bitcoin, convert some fiat into Bitcoin, and undoubtedly that's going to cause some buy pressure and get a lot more people into Bitcoin. As we said, obviously buying Bitcoin inside a bank is likely this is going to be custodial. They're not going to let you send it out. It ain't great, but it's positive that Bitcoin's just making its way in the financial system. And all these companies, once they roll out Bitcoin as an option, over time, they'll get pressured more and more and more to go, look, you need to let people send this out. And there'll be plenty of people that will go, look, I'll hold 1 or 2% of my net worth with you. But if you want the full 50, 60, 70, 80% of my net worth, you need to let me buy that and then take it out. And then I'll come back and maybe sell some of that through you, but you have to let me take custody. I don't trust you. And I think that's the model that banks are going to have to get used to, where they can't take custody, because obviously they make all their money with custody. Because the second they have your money, they're trading it, they're putting it into high interest things, putting it into stocks, shares, making 10, 20, 30% a year, and then giving you 0.2% interest. So
And
you can't do that on
charges
Bitcoin,
you.
because the Bitcoin, we're going to go, yeah, we'll buy it off you, but then I want it. You can't go off and fucking start trading it. I'm having it because I don't trust you, because last time I trusted you, you traded it, lost it, and then didn't give me anything back. So I ain't doing that again.
But I think that they will even charge you for holding it, and a custody charge.
Yeah, it maybe be something that you get into companies where we talked about personal custody on a mobile with a kind of like interconnected device which can be turned on and off. But maybe there is something which we could do with banks, where banks, they are looking after it, but they aren't really.
Yeah, they do mention cold storage in this article, actually. So at least if they're doing that, at least if they're taking custody of it, if they got it in cold storage, that does actually give me confidence that, number one, it's safe. Number two, they ain't trading it.
Yeah, because you think cold storage, they may have the device, but you've got, the words, because you're not going to leave the words there.
Well, the thing is, in this example, it would be their cold storage. So you wouldn't have the words.
Yeah.
They have the words. But at least if it's in cold storage, right? Because there's no such thing as cold storage for your fiat, is there? So with your fiat, when you put that in the bank, you have no clue where that is. They're just off trading it, loaning it out to 17 people, trading on the stock market, making shit tons of money, and then giving you 0.2%. If your Bitcoin, at least, if they say it's in cold storage, it's in a vault somewhere. Yeah. Like you can't access it. But you'd have to trust them. Yeah. So again, if they lie, then yeah. But if it's actually in cold storage, that is better than the fiat system we have now. Because the thing is, like, the great thing about Bitcoin is you can't just create more of it like you can with fiat. You can't just take my $1,000 and loan it out 17 times. With my Bitcoin, it's like if I give you $1,000 of Bitcoin, you can't send 17,000 times that Bitcoin out. There's only, because it's all on one blockchain. You can't do it. You can't give those people that money. So it does start to build actually responsible financial institutions, which is good.
Or again, if they have a bad day on the stock market where they've obviously taken the Bitcoin and not done very well with it, as they may do with fiat, they can't just put it into a spreadsheet, there's your money back again. It's gone. So they have to be a lot more risk averse and ideally not do it in the first place.
Exactly. It's the key word I always say, accountability.
Yeah.
They actually have to be accountable for their decisions.
Yeah.
Once you always know that if they lose a couple of billion one day, they phone up the Fed and go, print that couple of billion, throw it over the fence to me. They always know that option's there. And it's only when the day that they lose a couple of trillion that they're like, oh shit. And that's when you have a 2008. Should we do inflation weekly?
Oh, we love a bit of inflation.
Hello.
4 things that are going up in price and why.
Was this a BBC article?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I was really surprised as well.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say surprised because they kind of spoiling what we blamed it on. They blamed various things on shortage of chips and materials rather than the fact that we closed down the world for months and we printed monopoly money to extreme amounts, which obviously didn't disrupt the supply chains like it always does.
Yeah. I mean, they kept it pretty lighthearted in terms of the things that they've gone for in this article, because initially, yes, they have said the price of living, like energy bills and gas, but they talked about Sunday lunch. So the average Sunday lunch is going up, skincare products, furniture. That was an interesting one because
I think it's all about 8% as well.
Yeah. Ever since I've been alive, I remember DFS was closing and there's a massive sale. So yeah, there's that one. And then the fourth and final one is used cars, which I know we've caught before as well.
What was that, 20% for used cars? So I think the others were around about 8%, but in the article it says inflation's at 5%. I'm like, if your Sunday roasts and your furniture are saying 8%, inflation's probably 8%. It's not 5.
Yeah.
Whereas used cars, I think we've spoken to Miss No Show about this because I think she's a bit more clued up with markets which she works in, and I think you got a bit of a mixture in that it's down to people moving off leases, plus boredom, plus I think it's boredom. People just went, I want to buy something. Oh, I've got this cash, I might as well buy a new car. And then it's just sat on their drive doing fuck all.
Yeah.
I've known fair few people have got new cars in the last couple of years, but they're blaming on the price of cars on shortage of chips and materials, and it's just like, well, I think that's actually caused by inflation.
Yeah, but I just thought it was quite interesting for the BBC to actually be addressing the fact that inflation is happening as well.
It's a lie, though, isn't it? Right. This is what it always is, right? So they finally they try and deny that it's happening at all, and they hope that works. But when people like us keep batting on about inflation, eventually they have to admit, okay, you're right, this isn't transitory, it is legit. But then they just blame it on something else. So that's why they've picked things like used cars and furniture, because those two are actually a bit of a supply and demand issue. So new cars are harder to get, and labourer is harder to get because everyone's at home and everyone's doing house improvements. So those two things, like on their own, they've gone up more than inflation because everybody just wants to change their car. There's no cars, and everyone wants to upgrade their home, and normally not everybody does. So there's not enough builders to do the upgrading. So those two have inflated more, but not just because of money printing, because of supply and demand. Because lockdown has caused, you can't go out for dinner, you can't have days out. So what are people spending their money on? Spending on their house, spending on the car.
Yeah.
So it's very clever. But when the first two around food, really, they've said Sunday lunch, but really what they mean is meat and vegetables. And then I don't know why they've got skincare products in here. It's probably yet another one, probably a supply one.
I think skincare is a bit of a one to mislead you, because you're thinking skincare, who cares?
Your skin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just what they've tried to do here. This is a classic. This is an article that when you're chatting to people about inflation, they will link you this article as to why it isn't money printing, because they don't mention money printing once in here.
Exactly.
So it's just it's the lockdowns, it's the supply and demand, it's all that. And obviously we were talking about a more private issue around a single company printing loads of shares and then blaming the economy for the last week on why the share price has gone down by 30 to 40%. They're doing the exact same thing here. They've gone, oh, why is inflation? In reality, 20 to 80%, depending on what item you're looking at. Why? And they're still only saying it's 5.4 because it's a UK article, which is absolute bollocks. Yeah. We all know it is. It's at least 20. And they're going, oh, why has this happened? Oh, look, let's cherry pick some supply and demand issues that have happened recently. There you go. That's why. Completely ignoring the fact that the amount of pounds that have existed have pretty much doubled in the last 2 years than they were before. Ignored all that. In reality, the main reason for inflation is the pound has been devalued because there's more of them now. That's it. That should be reason number one. And then if you honestly want to put some more reasons, I'd be happy to go, oh, there's an exceptional case for used cars, an exceptional case for manual labor, because everyone's locked down and that's what they're spending the money on. Fine. That is now a balanced article that is correct. When you leave off the number one, which is the reason is because we printed double the amount of pounds that used to exist, now I call you bullshit liars that are just working for the government to try and cover up an issue that they know they caused and they don't want to admit it.
Well, I sent a comment into one of our chats today, this week, because I was listening to Saifedean with Plan B, and he talked about the demonizing of certain things like petrol or driving cars and meat. And it's basically, and as he pointed out, it's basically they're demonizing things which have really been affected by inflation. So it's impossible to hide meat. So they're saying, don't eat it. it's bad for you and it's bad for the environment. You're boiling the oceans. You're creating holes in the ozone through cow farts, but it's funny how, you know, we could go, oh yeah, we believe this if we didn't have inflation. If we actually could see it happening, we kind of went, oh, meat's still, you know, £1 a steak, but they're saying it's causing a hole in the ozone. We go, oh, maybe, but the fact is, it's going up and up and up and up, and they're saying, we can't afford that anymore. To say, don't worry about that. It causes a hole in the ozone, and it's exactly what was done with eggs in the 70s. Like, eggs were commented on as rising up too steeply, and straight away it was, oh, they're worse than smoking for you. And that stigma stuck with eggs for years. I remember being told that in probably the late 90s, early 2000s, when eggs is a hell of a healthy food to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember commenting on it about 6 months ago, and I was like, what is this war on meat? I didn't quite get it. And now it all kind of makes sense. It's like, oh, they've only got a war on meat because they can't hide the reason why the price is going up, but they can hide it if they shove it into this tofu bullshit manufactured crap. And because now you can just get the efficiencies by removing the goodness from the product without you knowing. You can't remove the goodness from meat. Meat costs what it costs because you've got to grow the fucking animal, but you can manufacture tofu in China or something. But
more efficient manufacturing techniques will get it cheaper and cheaper as they keep on printing money.
Yeah, so it's yet another way of hiding inflation, because they can't hide it in meat, so they're going to stop eating it. Yeah, instead of just admitting that, they just demonize it and say it's causing climate change. Because I suppose they can't say it's causing terrorism or money laundering, so they just say climate change. It's like they've got these little buckets, like what can we hit this on?
Yeah,
can it cause terrorism?
Pinko, isn't it?
How many cows have we had terrorist? 0. Shit. How many have been money laundering? 0. Shit. Do they do climate change? Well, they do fart. We're going with it. Climate change.
Yeah.
But if you look in the stats about climate change, so this is any, I don't know, Bitcoin eco warriors, which I don't think are very many, listen to the show. If you look into the stats, I think climate change, along with the other bugbear of mine, is plastic use. They're going, oh, this plastic in the oceans, you're a shit for that straw which you used at McDonald's the other week. When in fact, it's companies again. You're looking at over 2/3 of these issues happening through some of the largest companies in the world. Not because you ate a steak last night and it was juicy and nice.
For every plastic straw that isn't in the ocean, there's about 5 masks in the ocean instead now. So,
oh, it's horrendous. Like if you drive along, you know, motorways or A roads near me, it was just like masks bloody everywhere.
Yeah, it's the number one litter. If you walk through town now, I can guarantee I'll see masks every couple of steps. There'll be another mask just torn up, dirty in the corner. They're just everywhere. People are just throwing them on the floor. It's disgusting. Yeah. They're the new litter. And they will end up, like, seriously, by their billion in the oceans. So at least the upside is there's a load of fish that won't have COVID. Just like,
yeah,
maybe 99.7% of fish will survive. There'd be a couple of old vulnerable fish just being like dying of COVID. Everyone else would be fine. There'd be Fauci swimming in there in his diving suit, jabbing them all. Like, you'd be double boosted.
Yeah, that's once he's been through the pets.
He wants dogs and cats first.
So that's the other one, isn't it? So yeah, if it's not COVID, then it's terrorism. If it's not terrorism, it's climate change.
Yeah, it's like how to ban something top trumps. Like,
yeah,
everything falls into one of those boxes somehow, and Bitcoin, unfortunately, falls into every single one. So they just pick on it. Which one do we want this week? Is it terrorism, money laundering, or climate change? All three. Like, we can just bash it from all sides.
Well, it's funny, like we talk about this, and I think, we touched upon it. So we got bank buildings, we got banks, we got, the big skyscrapers and the capitals of every country, say HSBC, Barclays. We got all the ATMs, and like, I just dread to think how much energy is actually going through that banking system, how inefficient it is, as well as causing pure poverty in the fiat system which exists at the moment. So if you don't think a little bit of energy, which can change the world, should be spent on Bitcoin, then I think you got your priorities wrong. So go back to eating your soy burger and fuck off.
Oh, man, if there's someone listening to this at this point in the podcast that was eating a soy burger, I don't know how you got here.
Tom, put the soy burger down.
So our last story is Bukulele. Surely first, but he's last this week.
Yeah, so that, and finally.
So this is Bukulele. Basically, he's this kind of links into lockdowns and COVID and all that stuff. But he's basically posted a video of Brussels and a load of police officers just chasing protesters down, battering them, spraying them. And his tweet basically just says, "This is Brussels, the administrative center of the European Union, and they dare to say El Salvador is a dictatorship." And yeah, so obviously El Salvador, no mandates around lockdowns or vaccines or anything. They are still, in my mind, COVID Karens. They still think it is a legitimate kind of virus that they should do a lot of kind of restrictions, and they are strongly recommending vaccines. But to be fair to them, there is no lockdown, there is no mandate. Whereas in Brussels, there is. You're not allowed to protest. There are mandates on vaccines. If you work for the health service, you're not allowed to travel. There's COVID passes everywhere. You're not allowed in restaurants and stuff unless you've got a COVID pass. And it's just funny, isn't it? Like, we think we live in a kind of democracy in Europe, and I think in America as well. And then really you go, do we? Because look how they're acting. And you look at some of the dictatorships in El Salvador, and they're walking around, having dinner, can get together in groups. They're fine. Yeah, if you do the same thing in Brussels right now, you'll get beaten with a stick by the authorities.
Sounds fair. Chad, he's had an epic couple of weeks on Twitter, hasn't he? After we had a dip in Bitcoin, he changed his profile picture to him in a McDonald's visor. I can't remember what else he's been. I think it was last week when he was on the Economist guy who was about energy, and he beat him down. There's been various. I think, whenever I see one of his tweets, I share it with the group, because I just think he's absolutely great.
Yeah, I wanted to understand if there was anything that came out of his meeting in Turkey as well, because that was happening a couple of days after last week's pod. But I didn't really see much.
I'm hoping that Erdogan just starts memeing soon.
Yeah, it'll be a slow burner, right? So just like when Bukulele met Jack, it'll be months for them to get going. So if it went well, in a couple of months' time, we'll hear Turkey's on a Bitcoin standard, but we won't know. If it went well, then we'll hear in a couple of months. If it didn't, we'll hear nothing.
Do we know when Jack met Bukulele?
The problem is Bukulele was already well on the way, wasn't he? But I think, yeah, he did say it. I think it's about 2 months before they announced it. Because
Erdogan's had a history of going between inflating the currency and raising interest rates. He's just been trying to settle the currency down for probably the last 5 years. It's just been going absolutely wild in Turkey.
He's not doing a good job if he's been trying.
He keeps on sacking his finance minister.
Yeah.
You can't get it under control, and this is, the ultimate. Get Bitcoin, you can't inflate it, and it's not going to be shocked by another country.
Well, who knows? Like, maybe Erdogan is a good guy. He's just economically illiterate, and he's been trusting his finance director and every single one he hires is another fiat guy and just wants to print them their way out of it, and it just makes everything worse. So maybe he's finally got to the end of his tether and gone, okay, fine, how the hell do we do this? And who knows, maybe if it goes on to
look at his Twitter account. Let's get in touch with Chad and his memes.
The second he gets his laser eyes on.
Yeah, when he starts firing out memes, that's when you know he's there.
Yeah.
It starts with the laser eyes, and then the memes come, and then it just out and out shit talking. You're like, now we got you. Once you really start shit posting, like Bukulele now is just, he is shit posting all day.
He's a president.
Quality is just thinking, yeah, exactly. He's a president. He's doing no work. He's just shit talking on Twitter.
So once you're on a Bitcoin standard, you don't answer to anyone. I'm just part of the network, and someone criticizes you, you go, fuck off. and then there's no, it doesn't matter. Like if you're using the US dollar and you tell the US government to fuck off, they screw you. They can directly punish you and limit your access to more dollars. In Bitcoin, it's like, nah, the network's just there. Like tell Bitcoiners to fuck off. We'll tell you to fuck off back, and then you go buy some more Bitcoin. It's fine. There's no one stopping you. It's easy. The network is open 24/7. Anyone can buy and sell. Not like any other currency. Any other currency is controlled by a government. They can stop you from buying or selling at any point. Whatever debt you have with them, they can increase the interest rate at a whim if you piss them off. And then you can piss them off for a whole variety of reasons. And that's what all these presidents are realizing. If you don't agree to everything they say, like, boy, our oil at this price, our weapons at this price, our food at this price. Oh, and by the way, your natural resources, yeah, we're buying it for this price. And by the way, you have to accept dollars. We're not accepting your currency, even though they know that they don't even pay for their dollars. They print out of thin air and buy your natural resources that cost you genuine money to make. They buy it with their own monopoly money. It's a fucked up system. And country by country.
Interesting if Turkey moved over to a Bitcoin standard, because I feel like, again, like El Salvador, there's a real use case for them to be on this. You know, the numbers don't lie. The people aren't happy. And it'd be good to watch how it plays out to see, well, does crime and does the unrest within the country settle down with Bitcoin? We've said it before, you know, fix the money, fix the problem. Does it fix the problem? Because then we'll have two use cases with El Salvador.
We looked at the figures. Must have been a few weeks ago or so, didn't we?
Yeah.
The article played it down, but when you actually went, well, the US inflated by 20%, so we know that figure's now inflated. And then the fact that you're saying this and the difference in prices, I think it was like 50% over 2 years. So we know that they're in a lot of trouble, but it's one for hoping this year, along with Argentina and Brazil, because we know Argentina's been in trouble since it became its own country.
Yeah.
Sweet. We're good for today.
That is it. This was episode 40, brought to you by myself, So Never Look. I'm sorry, this week I've looked. Dr. Evil 10%, Mr. All In, and she was here, but she was never here. I think she's disappeared, and kind of like the buoyancy in Bitcoin. It's gone, it's evaporated. So there you have it. 4 Bs, bullish on Bitcoin for forever. We're not going to go. We're still going to continue giving you the message. So like, subscribe, share, and we're out.